And so before CodeRabbit, your career in software and machine learning spanned several decades. You've had roles doing supply chain optimization at Amazon. You used to automate testing at RIM, Research in Motion, maker of the BlackBerry, and now called BlackBerry. So the BlackBerry phone. And actually, something interesting, I mentioned to you before we started recording that I went to high school in Waterloo, where you did your undergrad and master's at the University of Waterloo. And in high school, I had a summer job doing testing of Blackberries at RIM, which was a really, really tedious job. Um,
Yes.
I think the whole summer that I spent doing that, I didn't find a single real bug. I just found a lot of issues in like the evaluation spreadsheets, for a particular application for a particular type of BlackBerry phone. Anyway, so you've done Amazon, RIM, you did personalization and recommendation systems at Netflix, and you co-founded a unique AI-based musical assistant called Wave AI, where you helped elevate human creativity with generative AI tools. Um, you have degrees in math and computer science, specializing in combinatorics and optimization, and you're also a singer, a tuba player. So and a guitarist. Yeah, we got guitars in the background, many of them. And so, as a musician with a math combinatorics background and all your AI experience, what have you learned about the boundaries, about what's uniquely human creativity? Do you think there are any, or do you think that machines will be able to, in our lifetimes, kind of take on any creative pursuit that we limit to only humans today?
These are super interesting questions. So this is an area of like passion of mine in particular, and as well as my wife. So Wave AI was co-founded between myself, my wife, and one of her old students, Chris. And this idea: can machines be creative? What is creativity? Like that's the first question we have to ask ourselves, right? What does it mean to be creative? Because it has had definitions that make it inherently something that only human beings can partake in. But we have to sit there and think like, is there a definition that's somehow agnostic to humans? Because some animals can be creative. There are birds that are creative. There's lots of different, and I would argue nature in it is in and of itself a pretty creative entity or a concept. And so, what does it mean to be creative? And so, one of the definitions that comes up in literature is this idea of novelty and value. Is it new? And does someone find value in it? And so that definition is interesting because it doesn't preclude machines from being creative. It doesn't preclude anything from being creative. And it still satisfies, I think, most people's reasonable definitions of when a human being is creative, they create something that's new and it has value to somebody. Because anybody can create something, but if it has no value, do we consider that art? Do we consider that creativity? It's hard to say if there's no value. And so I think that machines can be creative for that definition of creativity. The main thing is the question that I like to ask on top of this is, should we allow machines to be creative? Should we allow them to create art and not have humans involved in the process? And from my perspective, the answer is probably no. I don't really want to consume purely AI generated art. That's not of interest to me. I want to have it come from a person because I can identify with that person. Ultimately, can I feel something from AI generated art? Sure. Yeah, potentially. It's just not what I would choose to consume. So our company, one of the main focuses and I think the most time we spent was, what is the user experience? What do I want to do here? What is my goal? And our goal was to make human beings more creative or to enable humans to be creative who previously thought they couldn't be. And at the end of the process, we wanted people to walk away from that machine and be able to continue to create in a better way that they could previously. And that was our goal. And so that was antithetical to a lot of VCs. They wanted machines to replace, they wanted the idea of the AI Spotify, where humans aren't involved, there's no royalties, and you just generate music indefinitely. That's not for me. And so, we spend a lot of time. What does that interface look like? How does a machine interact with a human so that when you're done, the artifact that comes out of it, you feel it's yours. And to a large degree, it is. And that was a difficult problem to solve. And I think we did a pretty good job at it. Ultimately, there's a long way to go. And I think some of these systems that you'll see now, like Suno, Udio, whether it's AI, image generation, they're moving in the direction of how do I give the human being more control? How do I make it so that at the end, they're not like, this is cool, but I'm not going to use it again because it's not really mine. And they walk away. We want to, as a human being, we want to be involved in the creative process. I think it's like innately like us somehow, right? Like we want to create music, we want to make art, we want to make dance, we want to do movies. Like this is like innately, we spend so much money on this, so it's a human trait. And so I think if we want to have AI be involved in creativity, I think it needs to enable, I think it needs to enhance, I think it needs to broaden the ability of human beings to be creative. But ultimately, the human needs to be the creator and the machine needs to be in the back seat. And that's something that I think not a lot of companies do right now. And I think that's what we tried to do. And I think that's where it should go if we're going to allow AI to be involved in the creative pursuits.